All right, hello everybody. Welcome to the latest installment of Sticky Bleachers, a podcast. I'm Bobby here with you today.
And I am Corey from the other side of the world, but not the other side of your heart.
How's it going today, Corey?
I am doing very well. I'm excited. This weekend, I'm going to see a doubleheader of Irish hurling and Gaelic football at Dublin's Croke Park, the headquarters of the official traditional Gaelic sports of Ireland. So it's going to be my first game there under the lights, and it's going to be awesome.
Very cool, very cool. What time does all that start? Is it like an
Uh,
all-day thing?
No, it's going to be it's going to be an evening doubleheader. The games are on the shorter side. They are 70 minutes continuous clock, so 35-minute halves. So it's going to be the teams from Cork are going to play the teams from Dublin. So it's a hurling first, which is a different sport than Gaelic football. So it's two different sports in the doubleheader.
Okay.
But it's kind of a Saturday night special. Friend of mine gave me a ticket. I got one more ticket, so me and my wife are going to go. We're going to be in the standing room only terrace where it's just in the cheap seats. It's rowdy. It's going to be crazy.
Is hurling similar to curling?
Hurling is nothing like curling, and
Gotcha.
I think we're going to have an traditional Irish sports quiz on St. Patrick's Day weekend on this podcast. I have it.
Oh,
I
good.
have it already. I will go on and on. I'll explain the sports in detail, and we'll have a quiz for Bob on that one. But that'll be for our St. Patrick's Day weekend one because I feel like that's where it's going to be most appropriate.
Sure, yeah, we should save it for when the timing is appropriate. That makes sense. So,
Yeah. But in the meantime, it's going to be very exciting. I'll be Cork visiting Dublin, so it'll be great.
is there any traditional like Irish tailgating before the game?
Well, tailgating
Do they have those?
And I mean, not in the way Americans do. And I've explained to Irish people many times. I've had to give that lecture of what is tailgating. That's what
I
tell
think
them
that
what
would
it
have
is, what's
crossed the
going on.
pond. I think and drinking
It
by
has to do with
drinking by a
space.
car.
I mean, now, drinking before the game happens. I mean, obviously, drinking before the game is a time out of tradition here. But you need space to tailgate, right?
That's
You
true.
need a big parking lot right outside the stadium, and that's just not the way it is here for a lot of places because space is a little more of a premium in Europe in general. So, drinking before the game, usually at one of the pubs around the corner, that's great, and they will have like American sports bars. Some will be fans of one side will go to this one traditionally, and fans of the visiting team will go to this one, which decorates in the colors of whichever team. So there is drinking before the game, but it's just the barbecuing hot dogs and throwing the ball around in the parking lot is not quite the same.
Gotcha. Well, I know. Maybe start a new tradition. Just get a little plot and throw a ball around. Who knows? But,
Yeah.
well, I hope you have a fun time. Let us know how that goes.
Yeah, we'll talk about that on the weekend wrap up next week.
Awesome. Well, we did an earlier podcast this week, and we took a look at some of the NCAA basketball games that were going on earlier in the week, and we made some predictions. So, should we go back and look at the results of those games, Corey?
Let's do that, Bob.
Awesome. Well, the first one we had, and it was a tragic outcome for any Iowa fan. We had the Indiana at Iowa game, and Iowa hung around. Iowa was there at the very end. I think Peter Jock took a three-pointer at the end to try to tie the game, and unfortunately it rimmed out, and Indiana came away with the road victory. So, Corey, you picked Iowa in that one, correct?
Yes, sadly.
Yes. And I went with a heavy heart, and I picked Indiana, and came out the victor there. But the next game that we had was Virginia versus Clemson. So, Corey, who'd you pick in that game?
In Virginia, Clemson, I think I picked Virginia, and as did you, Bob, it looks like.
I did. Virginia, yeah. They seemed to take care of business over there. No big upset happening there in Clemson. So
Yes, on that one, on Reddit, user MP Tickets for Virginia with Virginia flair says, looking ahead to Louisville on Saturday, Vital is on the call. How much time does he spend griping about not getting to be at the Duke UNC game? There's a couple of games we're going to talk about a little later on, but there was some good comments about the Vital call at the Virginia game. So I did not watch it, but apparently the commentary was pretty good.
he's longing to be at the UNC Duke game. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But that the Virginia game this weekend should be very good versus Louisville. That'll be fun matchup there.
Yeah.
But then the next game we had was Baylor versus Oklahoma. And Corey, who'd you have in that game?
In Baylor, Oklahoma, I had with you, Bob, the Oklahoma Sooners.
Ah, yes. And if my memory serves me correctly, I believe that Baylor put up a very, very good fight, and Oklahoma just barely came out the victor in that game. So we're doing pretty good here so far. 2-1.
Yep, that was a
versus
good
3
one.
now.
And
Yep.
user on that one in the discussion, JMac_21, who's a Sooners fan, says basically we were killing it. Then we noticed the babes in the crowd and started coasting, and then we won. Full stop.
Well, that's
So
true.
a lot
You
of
do win if you
confidence
get the
there
babes in the
among
crowd.
the Oklahoma faithful. I like it.
Yeah, that's nice. Now let's looking at the bright side there, for sure.
Yeah.
So, and then our last game that we'd made predictions on here was Wake Forest at Duke, and we went with the Duke calls and the Duke whistles, and they did get the calls and they did get the whistles. So Duke came out the victor in that one. And do you have any Reddit comments on that one there, Corey?
Yeah, it seems like it was just enough for Duke because user the real Frank Longo, who is a Duke fan, says awful. Glad we survived, but I have zero confidence for the UNC game, nor do I have any for either tournament. Outside of Plumlee, the guys look pretty gassed. So not as much confidence as the very, very confident Oklahoma fans in the Duke faithful.
That's a humble brag right there. That's kind of knocking them down. It's Duke's going to be there at the end of the year, at least putting up a fight. So maybe not a Final Four material, but they'll do well in the tournament.
Yeah, well, they always do. And the Duke whistle, you can always count on it, even against inferior foes like Wake Forest, Bob.
Exactly. And we can use that Duke game as a segue into our weekend games. And actually, we're going to bring in our special guest here, Dan. Dan, are you there?
Yeah. Hello, everybody.
Hey, welcome to the podcast. And Dan's going to be talking about some fantasy baseball with us here in a little bit, but we thought we'd bring him in for the weekend basketball picks. So get ready, everybody. We're going to be looking at
balls
Saturday.
And bats are my specialty, but I can take a pick with it, the best of them.
Well, awesome. So this weekend we have a lot of great matchups. A lot of teams playing on Saturday, early games going on. So let's get right to it. Number 10, West Virginia at number 19, Baylor. And Corey, I guess we'll start off with you. Who do you got in this game?
I'm going to go with the Bears on this one. Again, no need to talk to the dead. I think that Baylor at home is going to take this one, even against a good West Virginia team, Bob.
Gotcha. And Dan, do you got a pick for this one?
I'm going to go with West Virginia.
You're gonna go West
I'm actually
Virginia.
going to go with the traveling team, but take the higher rank here.
Gotcha. And I'm going to go with Baylor as well. I'm going to go with the home team on that one. I liked how they were playing last night, and like how they played versus Oklahoma. Sorry, West Virginia played last night. All right, and the next game we got was number 21 Iowa State versus number 1 Kansas at Kansas. So tough game for any Cyclones fan, but Corey, you picking the upset?
I'm not going to pick the upset on this one. I think it's going to be Kansas, and I think it's going to be a laugher. So I'm going to pick the upset on it being just a snoozer of a game in the second half.
Yep.
So that I'm sure is not going to be popular, but that's what I'm going to go for.
I gotcha.
I don't know if I
Dan,
get extra points for an extra cover on the spread, but I'm going to go for it.
If you call the way over.
Yeah, the way
points.
over.
There you go. Take the points. I'm actually going to go with Iowa State here. Keep with the theme this year of number ones not faring well, whether they be at home or on the road. So I'll take the Cyclones and a squeaker.
Gotcha. So a close game? Is that what you're calling?
I mean, I don't think they're going to blow them out on the road. I, much like Corey, also think there should be some sort of scoring system. I should get extra credit for a successful pick on this one, should it come true.
Oh, you want like an extra point?
If only there was a system, guys. If only there was like people in a place like Las Vegas that would like set different odds for different kinds of outcomes that you could choose.
That's a really good idea, Corey. That's a really good idea.
I think in the future we should bring in some heart money and bet with our heart bucks, and so you can make those most points. Maybe that's something for down the road.
Hey. No time like the present. We can totally do that. So
we'd have to pull our spreads.
We can give +1 for the upset, and I guess how about +2 for the upset, and then
what if we
+1
just
if you
did
call
the margin of ranking? So I get 20 points for the 21 beating the 1.
Oh, so they have to win, or they have to win by 20?
No. I'm saying Iowa State's ranked 21, so if they beat number 1 Kansas, you take the difference between the two as the point potential.
Okay. Oh, I like that. That's creative.
There we go. We'll spot you those points. Those points are right. Yeah.
So does that count though for so does that count if a ranked team if Kansas wins, do you lose 20 points then? You taking the negative then?
I don't know. I guess we'll have to come up with on the fly.
Yeah,
What do
this
you
is
think?
this is gonna get pretty complex if we're trying to improvise a sports scoring system a la the RPI rankings. I don't think that was done on the fly on the air.
I'm
No, I
pretty
don't think
sure
so.
it was, actually. I'm pretty sure. That was college football. Never mind.
Just some food for thought.
Just
you know,
food for
maybe,
thought.
Maybe next week we come
Yeah,
up with a.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Who do you have in this game, Bob?
I like Kansas. I thought that game in Texas, it was going to be closer than it was. I actually thought Texas had a chance of winning that game before it started, but quickly realized that Kansas is probably the best team in the country and probably one of the only legitimate number ones that have been there this year. So I like Kansas at home. Iowa State, great offensive team, kind of lack on defense there. So I agree with you, Corey. I don't think it's going to be much of a game. I think it's going to be kind of a snoozer. So we'll put that down.
Right.
And the next game we got is number 8 UNC versus number 17 Duke. So at Duke, Corey.
Do you know who
Are
I
you going with
trust
the Tar
this
Heels?
week? I'm trusting the real Frank Longo. I don't know who that is, but if
Okay.
they have zero confidence in Duke going into UNC, I'm going to trust the Duke fans on the internet, and I'm going to go with UNC on the road at Duke because it seems like everyone's gassed, according to the real Frank Longo, unless Plumlee can do it. I just like that name. I'm going to say it 3 or 4 more times, I think.
Don't
Real
listen
Frank
to the
Longo.
fake real Longo.
the fake real Frank Long real go.
Go.
Okay, so I'm going to go with North Carolina.
Gotcha. And Dan, who are you going to go with in this game here?
In these classic matchups, especially between Duke and UNC, it doesn't ever seem to matter what the teams are ranked. It's always a close game. I'm going to go with the home team. I'm going to stick with the Blue Devils.
Gotcha. And well, this is tough. I like Duke in this one, actually. I'm going to go with the upset here. The Duke at home, knocking off UNC. I think UNC is an inconsistent team, so I think they have a lot of talent, but have a hard time showing up for some of the games. So maybe they're looking past Duke a little bit. Who knows? And then our next game that we have up is number 11 Louisville versus number 4 Virginia. So a great matchup here. This will be a fun, exciting game. So Corey, who you got?
I'm going to go with Virginia, and I think Vital is going to be a very excited guy. It's Virginia! That's my pick. That he's going to say at least once, it's Virginia!
Yeah, we don't have any Pac-12 games here, so no Conference of Champions going on.
Yeah, not this week.
So we'll have Vital having to throw it all around. And Dan, who you got in this game?
I'm going to go with Virginia at home
Virginia at home. Awesome.
Right.
for no specific reason.
Well, that's the best reason, especially
Right.
come March Madness time.
Right. I'm like
you just
the,
feel it.
I'm like the various animals that predict Super Bowl winners. I'm pretty arbitrary. Throwing darts here.
There you go. That's something we should actually do. Is have a whole bracket built around throwing darts. You just put each team on a matchup and then throw a dart at it. Whoever
I
wins.
was worried,
or-
Bob, you were going to start torturing animals and making them make picks, and I was going to have to distance myself from you. But I like the dart system. I don't know about cornering
Yeah.
animals.
Your
Although
mind
we can
went
always,
there,
we can
Corey.
always
Your
be
mind
the-
went to the torturing animals. So
Hey.
we don't want PETA on us. So
No, we don't want any trouble from that. Although
No.
Dan, we'll just call Dan the World Cup octopus of Sticky Bleachers in the picking. Just going on off no system.
There we go. And Corey, much like you, your mind ran with Bob's suggestion. My coffee-infused brain this morning thought animals throwing darts. So
ooh,
it could be
that might be
could
dangerous for
equally
everybody.
messy.
Actually,
That could be really dangerous and
Depending
highly
on the
illegal.
animal.
And depending on what country you're in.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of what animals could throw a dart. But anyway.
All
A
right,
monkey
so Bob,
could probably throw a dart.
Are you going to go with the Cardinals against the Cavaliers? Since the Cardinals are animals, what's your system?
Oh, I know, right? I should probably be listening to that, but we have 2 animal teams coming up here in the next one. So I'm gonna go with Virginia. I'm gonna go with the Cavs on this one.
Okay, we're friendly on this pick.
Yep. I like Virginia as a team. Louisville plays a great defense. Tough time on the offensive side, though. And, well, they do have hookers, though. They do have that prostitution sting going on. So that is a plus for them. But Virginia at home. Got to like
Is that a plus for them? I thought you were talking about rugby for a second when you talked
All right.
about the hookers.
Well, we know that that's a position.
That is a real position in rugby.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you ever get a chance, go to Louisville. Great school. All right, so our next game, or our last game actually, is number 16 Iowa, struggling number 16 Iowa versus unranked Michigan, one of the bubble teams. So the question is, does Iowa turn it around in Michigan, or do they continue their fall? Corey?
I think Iowa turns it around. I'm going to just go homer all the way. Iowa on the road, gonna get something before conference tournament time. Got to get something, but I'm gonna go with Iowa.
Gotcha. Dan?
I'm right there with you. I'm a homer on the road. Iowa at Michigan.
Oh, man, this is tough. So the last 2 times we've picked Iowa games, I've gone with the opponent, sadly, and that's been the right pick. But I think I'm gonna go with you guys here. I'm gonna go with Iowa beating Michigan. Hopefully they can turn it around. It just wouldn't bode well going into the Big Ten championship here, the playoffs, losing 4 games in a row. Or 5 games. I don't know how many they've lost in a row, but they've lost way too many.
Too many.
If
only we need to have a more diverse set of opinions of the 3 Iowa homers when we're picking.
Well, I'd love to just be the opposing voice, but I just don't think it's possible. I don't think Michigan's as good of a team as Iowa, even at home. So we got our picks. Everyone's satisfied, locking it in.
Yep, let's go for it.
Cool, awesome. Well, that is cool. We will see how those games turn out, and it should be a really fun weekend in store for college basketball. But another thing happening this week is spring training baseball games going on. And spring training means baseball, and baseball means fantasy baseball. And so this is where we bring Dan in to talk about our fantasy baseball league, our Sticky Bleachers fantasy baseball league that we set up. And Dan, you want to give a little intro on our league?
Sure thing. We went with, first to back up anybody who isn't familiar with the fantasy baseball, there's a couple different ways of doing it. So within, there's 2 major styles of both how opponents compete, either on like a running total for the whole year or on a week-by-week basis. In our case, we went with a week-by-week basis, thought it represented baseball more. What you did yesterday doesn't affect today in baseball, so much like that, we went week to week, all scores reset, very similar to the standard points league in fantasy football. Mm-hmm. The other way that leagues differentiate themselves is in the way that you score points, or however you want to say, like differentiate between the teams. There's categories, in which you select usually 5 or 6 categories for the offense, 5 or 6 categories for the pitching, and if you win that category for the week or the year, you get a single point for that said category. The other side is a points based. Each outcome within the game is assigned a different point value. As your team accomplishes those feats, whether it be singles, home runs, wins, or innings pitched, your team adds those points up. At the end of the week, whichever team has the most points wins that week. They get a victory and move on to start over the next week. That's what we went. We went with a head-to-head points league. So yes, each team squares off on a weekly basis for a total cumulative points. At the end of the week, the win is tallied, and then they move on and start with a different opponent. We felt it represented baseball the best of the 4 different options.
Yeah, with the normal 5 to 6 categories, we blew that up and we went with 13 by 13. So we went with 13 categories for each offensive and pitching categories and stuff, and
that's pretty standard within points leagues. Usually the categories leagues are usually 5 or 6, but in the points leagues you can create any number of possible outcomes that you want to reward. So we threw in some logical ones. We threw in some ones that we thought were a little more baseball nerd. And then we also threw in some ones that are just kind of almost fluky or lucky, just for the fun of the watching experience.
Yeah, and here I can read through our point system. And to any of the listeners out there, if you'd like to join Fantasy Baseball, Sticky Bleachers Fantasy Baseball League, we have a link at the bottom of this podcast that you can click and join. But anyway, we can start off here. For the offensive side, a run is worth 1 point. A single is worth 1, a double 2, a triple 3, a home run 4, An RBI is 1. Stolen base is 2. Caught stealing is -1. A walk is 1. Hit by pitch is 1. A strikeout is -0.5. An error on when the offensive player is playing in the field is -1. And an outfield assist is 1 point. So that is the offensive side. And on the pitching side, we have for every inning pitched, you get 2.5 points. For every win, it's 5. For a loss, it's -5. For a save, it is 6. Hit is -1. Earned run is -1. A walk is -1. A hits batter is -1. Strikeout is 0.5. A hold is 2. A save chance is -1. A relief appearance is 0.5. And a quality start is 5. So that is the pitching categories. And again, as Dan said, we did a lot of this so that it can kind of represent a more complete baseball player. So one of the things we wanted to do was get middle relievers into the game. Closers are very popular in fantasy baseball, but we thought that relief pitchers needed to get their credit as well. So we added holds and relief appearances just as a way to kind of make the fantasy player pool a little bigger.
Also worth noting, our roster positions are fairly standard. You have a catcher, first baseman, second baseman, third baseman, shortstop. That's pretty standard on a baseball diamond or fantasy league. We went with 3 outfielders, 2 utility positions. Those are any position player can occupy a utility spot. That rounds out the offensive side. On the pitching side, we have 2 starting pitcher spots, 2 reliever spots, and then 4 general pitchers spots. Those can either be a closer, a middle relief, or a starting pitcher.
Yep.
Then 5 bench spots, which kind of is where the variability comes in the league. How you determine your bench is really where teams differentiate themselves.
Yeah, see what direction you want your team to go. And the fun thing about starting off a new league and new point system and everything is that we really don't know which way is the best way. So we don't know what is going to work and what's not going to work. But it should be fun. I think I haven't played in a head-to-head league ever, actually. I've always done categories and stuff. So it'll be fun to see kind of how it plays out. But as we were doing the points totals at the end, we did a projected points total for the pitchers and offensive players. And it was a pretty similar points total. So I'm guessing it's going to be a pretty even fantasy point league. So shouldn't be so lopsided.
Hey, do you guys know who's not going to be putting up any fantasy points for the first 30 games of the season?
Who?
Arnoldis Chapman.
Well, for the first month of the season, yeah.
Yeah, suspended 30 games under the league's domestic violence policy. That's sparked a lot of discussion and a lot of debate in the baseball world. He was not convicted and won't actually be formally charged in the criminal justice system, but MLB, citing their domestic violence policy, making sure they're taking a stand against these kinds of issues, which have raised their ugly head a lot in sports. Has gone ahead and suspended him 30 games. And as I understand it, at this point, there's no appeal, no backing out. He's going to be sitting down for 30 games.
It is in the books. Also worth noting on that note, and this is fairly unique to any sport that I've ever heard of, at least. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. But they gave a date of his return, not a number of games. I believe it's like May 9th or something. That works out to after the Yankees' 30th game. But if there are any rainouts or any games canceled for any reason, those essentially come off of his suspension. He's coming back the 9th, no matter how many games the Yankees play before that. Just a kind of interesting development. I've never seen that happen before.
That is interesting, Dan. I mean, I know they have to sometimes make weird concessions for pitchers with or starting pitchers with trying to give them a number of games that will avoid a certain number of starts, but I know coaches can do some maneuvering to avoid that a little bit. That is interesting that they went with a date here instead of number of games.
Yeah, and I believe that was handed down by Major League Baseball and not a team decision, but definitely interesting. You don't normally see that. So
praying for rain in New York.
Yeah, that's right. You know who also is not going to be putting up any fantasy points or any political points is Kurt Schilling, in some hot water with ESPN after a little political tirade that he went on. And politics aside...
You mean Bert's brother?
Yeah, Bert Schilling and Greg Schilling's cousin, I think. They're both cousins.
Yep.
But, without getting political on Reddit, Freudian_nipple_slip. That's a great name. Freudian nipple slip. Almost as good as the real whatever. He just says, if your boss tells you not to do something and you do it anyway, you're probably going to get fired, Kurt Schilling. This is not rocket science. It's a very, very funny story. But
it's amazing he still has a job.
Yeah, he was also accused of being a failed video game developer. And I don't know if either of you guys remember that from a couple years ago. He went in with another
he lost
Boston,
a lot of money.
He went in with another Boston-based, actually one of my favorite fantasy authors, R.A. Salvatore, who is a big Boston baseball fan, went in with him on this big video game project that kind of tanked.
Yeah. Yeah, that happened a few years ago, and he went. I believe he went bankrupt, but.
I don't know if Kurt
lost
was
a lot
the
of
money
money
on it. Yeah, Bob Salvatore, the author. I'm not sure how he made out on that one. He's still writing, but Kurt's going to need some ESPN money. He might be onto the Fox News circuit though. So after this, he might have a new job.
He might be going over to Fox Sports here and do his own right-wing political show. But
and maybe that's where he belongs. Seems like that's where he kind of wants to be. Just based
is
on
he the Rush Limbaugh of sports broadcasters?
I don't know. He hasn't gotten racial yet. I don't know.
Yeah, you'd only have to assume it's right around the corner, right?
That's right. Well, that's right. Here we go. As we speak, it's going to be Kurt Schilling in black quarterback controversy someday.
There you go.
Sure.
He's like a bottle rocket without a stick. He just can go any direction.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess it's only a matter of time on that.
Yeah. When all you have to do is kind of walk the middle road and don't really go in either direction too much. He definitely goes in one direction quite a bit. So, yes. And he's not that great in the booth. I'm not a big fan of him when he was in the booth, but Kurt Schilling, we'll see if he goes on to Fox Sports or stays with ESPN. Who knows?
Or maybe he's going to team up with Mark Grace in the Diamondbacks booth, and they can just both be drunk on the mic. And it's just like old school baseball.
Mark Grace seems like a happy drunk, though. Doesn't seem like
that's right.
Angry.
That's Kurt. Yeah, Kurt Schilling might be more like Surly. Like Surly only cares about one guy. Surly.
Interesting Mark Grace fact, and maybe, again, this is something you guys can correct me, but I know of no other professional athlete that was a smoker while playing a professional sport other than Mark Grace.
I didn't know he was a smoker while playing. I'm assuming he is still. That's crazy.
I believe he still is.
Yes.
So now, Dan, I'm not sure if this counts or not. I might be getting myself in some trouble, but I believe there was a couple of PGA golfers who got in trouble for blazing it up on the tour, going into
John Daly.
Porta potties and hitting some of that sweet swag while out on the PGA Tour. So I don't know if you would call pro golfers professional athletes, at least in this context, or if you would count smoking up some of that hot Sheba as opposed to lighting up the cigarettes. But I don't know. Do you guys remember that story?
Smoking the butts versus the buds.
Ooh, yeah.
I might get in trouble by some first baseman, professional or otherwise, but I would argue that if you're going to walk 18 as often as they do, that's probably a similar amount of exertion to playing first base.
Yeah.
Not sure about that.
Maybe.
It depends on where your dugout is, I guess. If you're on the first base side, it's maybe a little less. If you're on the third base side, maybe a little bit more, jumping over a couple extra lines each inning.
Yeah. We should come up with a list of famous athletes who smoke cigarettes, because I'm sure we could come up with an impressive list, especially in all those old school players and stuff.
If only he could do it on the field.
I know. This looks super badass.
Yeah.
That is one thing. You would look cool. There's no doubt.
Yeah. And now, I mean, well, and also, we've had lots of drugs being used by professional athletes for a long time. Some of them smoked, some of them snorted, some of them in pill form, lots of them in pill form. Some of them
in needle
injected into butts, often without the knowledge of the person who is being injected into their butt.
Exactly.
Hey,
the A-Rod scenario.
Think the A-Rod scenario. Hey, I was walking by. I thought it was a mosquito or something. I don't know.
Yeah. I sat down on the couch and felt a prick and was like, whoa, what the hell?
What if instead of performance-enhancing drugs, we had performance-inhibiting drugs where, like, if you take these on the regular, your NBA baskets are worth an extra quarter point, or your home runs are worth 1.2 or something like that, where, like, I'm so good I can do it despite hurting my body the entire time.
Well, there you go.
Jordan was probably doing that a little bit. I mean,
that's what I mean.
Big
he's
cigar
even better
smoker.
Than we think.
Yeah, he could have been, maybe.
Yeah, you have to wonder about if a player was hitting some of that sweet Sheba before they go out, if that, if you're a batter trying to watch the ball coming in, if you're just like, I want to just chill out, man. Why are the balls flying around so much?
Well, Doc Ellis taking
I was just
LSD
going
and
there.
throwing a no hitter. That was a pretty fun experience.
He was on amphetamines, wasn't he?
No, it was LSD that he threw the no hitter on. He was
That's
on
right.
amphetamines normally throughout his career,
okay,
as were most players in the 70s. So
Yeah, sure.
greenies is what they called them.
All greenies. That's
Doc Ellis also famously got in a fight with a stadium staff attendant when he was not allowed into the game, even though he played on the team. He showed up at the gate and they didn't believe him.
Really? Well, yeah, he doesn't look like a ball player. Didn't look like a ball player.
Yeah, didn't look like a ball player, probably.
Yeah, he is one that he came out with like the hair curler stuff in his hair and everything, and just a character. But it's a great documentary on Netflix about Doc Ellis. I don't know if you guys have seen that.
I need to check that one out one of these days. But that's right. He's the guy. The LSD must have been something else if he was hallucinating while pitching the no hitter.
LSD will do that to you. It'll make you hallucinate. It'll get the job done.
Yikes. So there we go. So he should get credit for a couple of no-hitters, Dan. As per your point, throwing a no-hitter while on hallucinogens should go down as it's an incredible feat.
Yeah, should get.
It's actually LSD 1, every other drug 0. So
I guess because he would have been throwing balls to like aliens at the plate. Like the umpire would have looked like a huge monster. The batters may have looked like stalks of corn.
Yeah,
and he was throwing it right in there.
On that documentary, he has some good examples of what he saw and everything. He said sometimes the ball was super big and sometimes it was really small. And I think a few times like they threw the ball back and like he's scared of it, so he like kind of ducked away from it and then fell on the ground and he had to like slowly pick it up and stuff. So it was definitely an incredible feat to throw a no hitter, let alone on LSD. But
Yikes!
I'd like to see throw these professional athletes out there, maybe on like mushrooms or LSD or something, and just see what they can do. Maybe nothing crazy, but
I hope something like that. Maybe that will be what baseball needs to do to increase interest, Bob.
how about no? I was thinking we could do it for the NFL Pro Bowl. You just give everybody mushrooms or LSD, and then just let them go. See what happens. You know,
I would watch that Pro Bowl. I'd watch the hell out of that.
I think a lot of people will watch that Pro Bowl.
I have adamantly argued this point before, but I think the NFL Pro Bowl should not be football. I would love to see them like spin some sort of wheel and have it land on a random sport.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, the Pro Bowl is a like 2-day golf outing, or
could we get Vanna White and Pat Sajak to have a big giant wheel?
Can you imagine? Well, hell, just do Wheel of Fortune. That would be funny in its own right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dan, we've talked about this on this very show, and I totally agree with you, Dan. I think we're talking about how great the NBA All-Star festivities are that aren't the actual All-Star game. There was the celebrity softball tournament. I think that would be a great way, and it'd be a good way for the players in the Pro Bowl to not want to just stay home from the Pro Bowl because they don't want to risk injury playing a football game. They want to just have fun, trip to Hawaii, play another sport, as you said, Dan. Spin a wheel, golf, that would be great. Softball, dodgeball. Could you imagine these guys playing dodgeball?
Yeah, that'd be hilarious.
Kickball, have them play kickball or foursquare. Or
Peyton Manning would have a huge advantage because there'd be no headshots, so his giant head would get in the way.
Ooh, yeah,
I know.
Disqualify that. And like you could have Ed Hockley could still ref the dodgeball game.
Yeah, Mike Carey could come in for the call and everything like that and get it wrong.
He could Mike Carey could make the wrong calls on the replays. Yeah. Mike Pereira could come in and he could argue with Mike Carey. That'd be great.
Maybe the NFL will steal our idea.
Yeah.
We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, hey, how about some news from the world of competitive video gaming, guys?
Sure, how about it?
All right, we have a couple of cool things. Now, this one, I probably should have been on the ball with this one last week. I actually missed it. It happened back in February. But as it pertains to us, our good friends over at TechmoBowl.org, the Tecmo Bowl community, had their annual Tecmo Madison tournament. This was the 12th annual tournament that they have in Madison, Wisconsin. This year, over 268 players jumped into the field and played a massive tournament there in Wisconsin. I would have loved to have attended this.
I
and
should
seen
have.
some of this. Yeah, well, as I understand it, Bob, they have had satellite events in Dubuque. So you should jump in. Maybe you can volunteer to organize. The theme of this one, you guys are going to like this. The theme of this year's Tecmo Madison was "There's Something About Barry," as in Barry Sanders. And when they whittled it down to the final field of 64, there was in 4 regions. We had the Brett Favre region, we had the Matt Dillon region, the Cameron Diaz region, and the Ben Stiller region. All 4 going into the final 4. As it happened, Joey Gatz was the champion out of the Cameron Diaz region, defeated Aaron the Kid out of the Ben Stiller region for the championship. And I tweeted from the Sticky Bleachers account the archived video of that match, but they did stream on their Twitch channel, and they put archives on YouTube channel of a lot of the games from that match. It's really fun to watch. That's all on Tecmo Super Bowl is the name of the YouTube channel, and on Twitch, it's twitch.tv/Tecmo Bowl. Now, if you guys want to see really high-level technical Tecmo Super Bowl play, watch this championship game, because these guys do things that a casual player would never think to do. Right. They run back into the end zone with their quarterbacks from like the 30 or 40 to give their receivers time to get open, because in Tecmo Super Bowl, quarterbacks can throw 90 yards in the air. No problem.
Yeah, just like in real life.
Just like in real life, it's great. But also, when you see guys get the ball, you want to see, in our simulations, we have they're all bots, just kind of running in straight lines. But these guys really precisely move their characters around, and sometimes we'll have runners run backwards to fake out the drone players, the drone defenders. They do all kinds of crazy things. The old zigzag move, but it's like spin zigzag all over the place. The moment that was my favorite in the championship match, there was a huge audience watching this game. I think it was at in a ballroom or something. There was a big audience, and during halftime, you know how Tecmo Super Bowl randomly plays a couple of different little cartoons during halftime?
Yeah.
During the halftime performances, the crowd was chanting for the panty shot, because we all know one of the things, because LOL Japan, not to be culturally insensitive, but Japanese products from the 80s found the upskirt panty shot. It was just kind of considered funny and not kind of tasteless like it would be today. But there's a cheerleader who jumps up, and as she starts to fall, the skirt lifts up, and you get just a few pixels of the white underwear shot. So the crowd went crazy for the panty shot. As insensitive and kind of crass as that is today, it was kind of funny.
Oh, that's why it's there. It's so you can look back and laugh and cheer. It's fun.
Yeah, it's great stuff.
Now, I was wondering, are they allowed to play with Bo Jackson? Is it the old Bo Jackson Tecmo Super Bowl, or is it the new hacks?
It's not the new hacks. It is the 1991 official released game of Tecmo Super Bowl. So it has all the players worked in there. I am not sure how they selected teams on this one, but both of these players did maneuver that before the game. They were allowed to change their lineup just to within the team. They just changed who the starters were, and move things around. Neither of them in the championship. It was one of them was the Chargers. I can't remember who the other one was. The game moved so quickly and such a high level, it almost didn't matter, what the team was. But I'm not sure if they selected their own team or if it was part of the tournament selection process. It's all over on TecmoMadison.com, I think it is. They have all the information about the tournament. There's a whole bunch of stuff. They have the names and the results of all the games. There are 268 players. It's a huge resource.
It's a big event.
And, it's great, and I'm looking forward to seeing more.
Let's start practicing Tecmo Super Bowl. Go for next year. I'll start to train.
Yes, I expect both of you guys to do it, Bob and Dan. Also from the world of competitive gaming, we have the world of retro game speedruns, one of my hobbies that I like to follow and watch. And we have a couple of notable ones from this week, from the last week. And I'll bring this up as a regular thing so all of us can kind of keep an eye on what's going on in the world of, this isn't professional, but just competitive speed gaming. These are world records set within the last week or so. Super Mario Land 2, the Game Boy game, was completed in 3 minutes, 27.5 seconds by O_Deer.
Wow.
That's a game.
O_Deer.
O_Deer. Now, that game requires, for the any percent category, which that one was, that requires you to glitch yourself out of a normal level and put the character into a world where the game is building a level based on random bits of code from the game. And you have to navigate through this randomly coded area that's like just a bunch of pieces of enemies and broken pipes and things, and warp to the credits.
Are you aware of how to access that, or is that a special trick?
It's a special. Well, lots of games involve this.
Okay.
Tricks like this, where you kind of force your character and you force the game to do things it's not supposed to be doing. Now he does it by, I think you do it by going into a pipe, but you set values in the game that forces the game to instead of taking you through the pipe and going where you're supposed to go, it brings you out in this. But you have to change some other values and execute some very precise tricks to get the game to trick the game into this. Sometimes you warp yourself like through the walls. You like push through a wall and end up out of bounds or something. So
this is all very much like how we came upon food, like when a chicken came out or an egg came out of a chicken. We're like, oh, let's eat that. Like way back in the day. Like how did the first person figure this out in these games?
I know, but lots of these old games, you'll find them now. Dan, I think, did you play Super Mario World on Super NES?
I certainly did.
All right.
I grew up in the 90s. That was a staple.
Cool. Well, this is the no cape, no Star World category. There's lots of categories, by the way, of this game particularly, of Super Mario World. No cape, no Star World, beaten in 34 minutes 31 seconds by Calco 2. So that's impressive. It's a less glitchy run. You're not like forcing yourself into the game's code and warping to the credits. Although there is a category for that one. I don't have the world record on that in front of me. But you just basically do no cape. You work your way through the game. You don't use Star World to warp around. You go there. You beat Bowser. The end. 34 minutes 31 seconds. Another game that you guys might be familiar with is Doom 2. Doom 2 on the Nightmare difficulty category was beaten in 24 minutes and 9 seconds by Elimzke. Elimzke. Sorry, I can't pronounce that name, but that Nightmare difficulty, I couldn't get through a few screens on that one, but this guy, 2409. One of the more impressive ones of the week is Chrono Trigger. That's a Super NES RPG. All endings beaten in one long session, 7 hours, 58 minutes, 25 seconds by Red Slash. So that is that's a massive one.
That's a big one.
Yeah, you unlock every ending. So you play this long RPG, and you have to satisfy all the requirements for all the endings. But this is the biggest one, guys. You're going to like this one. Actually, just a couple days ago, this is a highly competitive category. It's a highly sought-after record. Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! Completed in 15 minutes, 42.70 seconds by Summoning Salt. Now, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! Is a very competitive speed game. Lots of really top-level players will grind over and over and over again, playing this game over and over to try to shave fractions of the seconds off of their time. But This is a huge record, 15:42.70. Now, the way Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! Speedruns go is you use the in-game timer. Rather than a separate timer, you use the in-game timer and you add up the time of each opponent. So the game actually tells you when you beat Glass Joe, it'll tell you what the time was.
So you use that time as your official time?
Yeah, but it's not always accurate. That's why they use that time instead of real time, because the game keeps its own time in frames, and it doesn't always line with the other one, because the game doesn't actually count every hundredth of a second, but every certain number of frames, it will advance the timer to the next interval. So like,
gotcha.
You know, if you beat the game or beat an enemy in enough frames for like 16 seconds flat, it'll say 16 seconds flat. But if you do it 16 seconds flat plus 2 frames, it'll still tell you 16 seconds flat.
Yes,
until you
16.
get to another, till you, I think 16 seconds, let's say 17 hundredths is the next time it actually advances. So that's why they keep it in the game. So
when you're getting it that close, you really have to look at it under the microscope.
You're shaving frames. You are shaving frames, which go by at 1/60th of a second is a frame. So when you're doing that, you're really, really optimizing. So congrats to Summoning Salt. It's a very impressive record. You should watch it or watch part of it. It's amazing.
I'll definitely check it out. Looking forward to Friday Night Fights with Mike Tyson Punch-Out. That'd be fun. Show it on ESPN. Get boxing back into the spotlight.
Yeah, I have to bounce back to an earlier one, Corey. When you the one before that, where it was 7 hours and change for the
Chrono Trigger.
Yeah,
Chrono Trigger.
Yes.
Do they have to do that all in one sitting, or how is that regulated?
Yes, that category of run is all in one sitting. Now, so what that player did was
he sat there for 8 full hours, well, 90 seconds short of 8 full hours, and just played that Super NES game. Now, he did take a little bit of a break during a cutscene where he selected all of his inputs, and then his inputs went through this. It was kind of the end of a battle. So he did take a little bit of a break at least once. I didn't watch all 8 hours of it, but I watched a couple solid hours of it while I was doing some other things. But a lot of these runs, Dan, that are in role-playing games like this, these players will know when there's some kind of a sequence where they don't need to input anything for, a minute or 90 seconds, and then they'll use that to step away and eat, drink, other human needs. But mostly they're
almost
just
like they had played it before.
Almost like they played it before, yes. But now there are categories, Dan, for segmented runs of RPGs, and that's where you'll play segments, and then you time each segment, and you optimize each segment, and then you add up the sum of your best times. So those times generally are much shorter than the real-time attacks like this one, where you have to get everything in one. But some games that require a luck element, the segmented run kind of eliminates the luck element, because you'll play over and over and over until luck lines up the way you need it. And then, okay, I'm going to accept that, and now I'll go do the next part and do it over and over until luck lines up. So,
man, those games shaped my childhood, man. I think we've gone soft on children in the video game category. I mean, you talked about Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! 2 before. I played that as like a 7-year-old and was just brought to my knees time and time again. It is a humbling experience to play some of those NES and Super NES games. I still to this day don't know how anyone could possibly beat Jurassic Park for Game Boy. Just second level, eaten. Just eaten every time.
That's just a terribly made game, Dan. If I might, that's just an awfully made game. The Game Boy and NES versions of that game, it's a Game Boy was a port of the NES one where you have to go around collecting eggs and key cards and stuff, but your sprite was way too large for the screen. I have lots of complaints about that game too. I have to add though, the Sega Genesis Jurassic Park game, totally different from those two and pretty awesome, but also not very well made. But a lot of fun.
Of course, it's a Sega game. It's a Sega game.
I
love Genesis.
Shots fired by
Fighting
Bob.
words.
Yeah, well, look forward to that. I will keep all of you guys apprised on the competitive gaming scene. Esports is what we call some categories of it. Now, the speedrunners, whether or not that's esports is kind of up for debate. It's kind of a hot topic. I don't know if we'll get into that.
I saw it made it onto the Yahoo ticker for the sports categories, so it's getting somewhere. Esports.
Well, there's a lot of money in it. I think that's the cutoff. As soon as there's lots of money, then there we go.
Then everyone's looking at it. We still don't have a WWE link up there, but we'll get esports going.
When is Money in the Bank title going to be worked in on that, or King of the Ring on Yahoo Sports?
Man. Well, we'll have to wait. WrestleMania's coming up, so. But well, I thought maybe a fun way to end the podcast would be to go back to fantasy baseball here. And Dan and I have been doing a lot of fantasy mock drafts lately, and I thought maybe we could throw Dan and Corey. We could do valuable first round pick and maybe an overvalued first round pick. And your thoughts, and Dan, I'll throw it to you to get us started here.
All right. This will be specific to our head-to-head points league. My overdrafted player would be D. Gordon. As we stated before, there's a lot of different ways to score this up, and the head-to-head points league awards a player who excels in any category. So you don't have to be a well-rounded player. You just have to provide fantasy value one way or another. And wherein the category leagues, D. Gordon is kind of a steals specialist, can help you win the steals category week in, week out, with also some excellent batting average and run production. But in the points, it's less important that you go for the steals. If you can crack as many home runs as he has steals, you're way better off. So D. Gordon's my overdrafted player. I've been seeing him go anywhere from mid to late round 2, which I think is way too early for the second base position. I think there's plenty of good options later in it, and I think at this point my most underdrafted player would be Carlos Martinez.
Okay.
He's going right around 104 overall according to Fantasy Pros, which is right around round 9, round 10, and last year he was basically tied with Michael Wacha for the 25th best pitcher, and I think there's nothing but upside for him this year. More innings, more Ks, bring down the whip.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to go with, I think he's very impressive, Carlos Correa. I think he's just, it's not that he's not worth the draft pick. I just think first round is a little too high for him, especially with some of the shortstops that are available later on in the draft. And then I'm going to go, well, on that same note, I'm going to go, the valued player is Manny Machado with shortstop eligibility. I think right now he's going around 8th overall picked. So at that value, I look for Manny Machado to be an incredible steal, even in the first round. And Corey, this is going to be fun. Who do you got?
I am going to watch, and I'm going to wait for, on our draft, I'm going to watch Bob. I'm going to put it on there. I'm going to say Bob is going to say first round, Jeff Samardzija is going to come off the board when Bob's turn rolls around, because Bob knows more than anyone. Jeff Samardzija, this is going to be his year. He's going to get.
Are you picking him?
Am I picking him? No.
Are you picking him first round?
No.
Oh, are you thinking I'm going to pick him first round?
I'm calling Bob to pick him first round. He's all over it. So he's going to be Bob's underused pick. Yeah, Bob's going to go. I don't care if he's drafting 600 overall. Bob's going to get him like 4th overall.
Gotcha.
Boom.
Okay.
Jeff Samardzija going off the board. The other one is going to be Starlin Castro, who might lead the league in errors this year.
Gotcha. Cool.
Which, oddly enough, in our current points categories, would actually hurt him. In most leagues, errors don't matter, but in this one, it actually would. Interesting you say that Jeff Samardzija is going to come off the board early, Corey. I like it. The Shark finally found a coast, got out of the Midwest. I smell blood in San Francisco Bay.
Yes. Oh, yes, I know. Hey, how about a final comment, guys, before we wrap it up?
Absolutely. How about it?
This goes back to the Iowa-Indiana game. Maryland Terrapins fan SGKOS87 says, I feel a great disturbance in the fourth. Like a million Terps, Hawkeyes, Badgers, and Spartans cried out in terror and were suddenly silenced. And in response to that, Iowa Hawkeyes fan, this is very, very curious. The username Skywalker1055 says, Iowa just wanted to make sure that they took every chance possible to disappoint me. In response to that, I saw there's still the Big Ten tournament, Luke Skywalker. So that's our final thought for this week. You can find us on Sticky Bleachers all over the place. We are on Twitter. We are on iTunes, which is maybe where you're listening to us now. We're on SoundCloud. We're on Stitcher. We're also on YouTube, where this week we put up a simulation of this weekend's Michigan State-Ohio State basketball game. That's a really good one. You should find that out. I'll put that game is up now. Highlights of that are going to be going up next week just to keep the action going. Do get in touch with us. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to read more of your comments on the air, on the podcast, on the videos, on our Monday wrap-ups. It's just going to be a great time. I'm looking forward to the draft here, and this spring is going to be a spring to remember. But anyway, I'm going to be Corey. I'm going to be signing off for now.
I'm Bob, and Dan, thanks so much for joining us here today. And
hey, anytime, guys.
Awesome, man. Well, we'll see you guys next week, and have a great weekend.
Play ball!
Sticky.